Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutter Diving welcoming you to yet another Cutter Top 10 NBA style list. And today we're going to be looking at the top 10 NBA draft steals of all time. We talked about the NBA draft busts. Now we got the draft steals as I rock the Toronto Raptors jersey, the chevron, the jersey, if you will. So the draft steals, um, all I can say is one, two, two and a half play for the Toronto Raptors. There's a half like the person who was on the Raptors roster but then got waived before playing a game for the Raptors, and there's actually one person who has been always rumored to be a Raptor, but it didn't happen. So that's the Raptors connection. All right, here's your top 10. Number 10 is Joe Dumars, selected 18th in 1985. Although you could also say John Stockton because he was picked like in double digits and all that, and people didn't think he would do well. But yeah, Joe Dumars from Southwest Missouri State. Alcorn State, right? I think Joe Dumars was part of Alcorn State because it was like a historical black college, wasn't it? Of course, it's her telling and all that. So yeah. Yeah, at McNeese. Okay, it was a different division IAA school. McNeese. Yeah, like Joe Dumars was a key move and all that. I mean, the Pistons needed him to be part of the bad boys like Bill Laimbeer and Isaiah Thomas and all that. So yeah, he was a Finals MVP for goodness sake. I was part of the Pistons back-to-back titles in '89 and '90. All right, number 9 is Chris Paul. Remember when I said the 0.5? That's the 0.5. Chris Paul. He was picked up by the Raptors at the trade deadline, but the Raptors waived him before he could play for the team. I wish he'd play one game for the Raptors before retiring. Just one. Or go play one game for the Clippers or the Pelicans. Nevertheless, CP3 was a key move, like fourth overall in 2005. But yeah, CP3 was great from Wake Forest, Tim Duncan's school, and he was helping the Hornets franchise, but the Hornets had to leave New Orleans for Oklahoma City to play because of Hurricane Katrina ruining New Orleans, the New Orleans arena. So yeah, that's what happened, and he was a key guy for the Pelicans. Well, the Hornets before they became the Pelicans. But New Orleans was so dire that the league picked him up, picked up the New Orleans team and owned the New Orleans team. So much so they banned New Orleans from trading CP3 to the Lakers. They did give some kind of move. CP3 was allowed to go to the Clippers, but the Clippers were supposed to give a lot more pieces to New Orleans and all that. So yeah, a lot of people were upset that the NBA was trying to create this deal and all that to what they want. But yeah, CP3 was a good player though too. Number 8 is Dennis Rodman, 27th overall, 1986, from Southwest Oklahoma, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Dennis Rodman was a pretty good player and all that. He said he would have some personality problems in Detroit. But with Detroit, just like Dumars, he was big. He was a rebounder, a defender, and a bad boy for the Pistons and all that. He was pretty good and all that. And Dennis Rodman was a great defender and all that for the Pistons. And then he fell out of favor with the Pistons franchise, left for San Antonio, spent a few years there, and went to the Bulls. People think that Rodman left the Pistons for the Bulls, but nope. He was with San Antonio for a few years, and then he went to Chicago and helped the Bulls out because they were a good rebounder away from taking control of things again. So Rodman was good. He played for the Lakers and Spurs afterwards. Unfortunately, he was more of a distraction off the court than on the court. I mean, he was flamboyant with his hair colors and wearing a wedding dress to a book signing, trying to marry himself in a sense, and then, kicking that cameraman and all that. Yeah, he was bad as he wanted to be, I guess. Number 7 is Giannis Antetokounmpo, 15th overall, 2013. The 2013 draft was just full of things and all that. So my feeling is, what the heck were people thinking? And all that. As I look at the 2013 draft, Anthony Bennett was picked first overall by Cleveland from UNLV, becoming the first Canadian to be the top pick, but he was massively disappointing, even with the Raptors. Victor Oladipo went second to Orlando from the University of Indiana. He was a pretty good player throughout his career. Otto Porter went third to Washington. Cody Zeller to Charlotte. Alex Len to Phoenix. Nerlens Noel to New Orleans before being traded to Philly. Ben McLemore to Sacramento. Contavious Caldwell Pope, KCP to Detroit. Trey Burke to Minnesota. CJ McCollum to Portland. Well, that worked out. Michael Carter Williams to Philly. Steven Adams to OKC from Toronto via Houston. So Steven Adams good for Oklahoma City. Kelly Olynyk from Canada was drafted by Dallas but traded to Boston, and Shabazz Muhammad went to Utah but was traded to Minnesota. So yeah, you could tell those guys. There were only a couple key players ahead of Giannis. He was picked 15th. Milwaukee took this guy from Greece, and Greece is known for their basketball and Eurobasket success. But the fact of the matter is that Giannis actually became a 2-time MVP, helped the Bucks win the championship in 2021, which was actually the 50th anniversary of the last time they had won a title. He looked pretty good. And yes, he's the guy who almost always every year gets the trip to Toronto, maybe. A lot of people think Giannis will head to Toronto. Well, we'll see about that. But yeah, that was huge. And, beating Antetokounmpo for the Eastern Final in 2019 was just sweet. Number 6 is Tony Parker, picked 28th in 2001. San Antonio saw something in foreign players. This is not the first time they had a significant move with a foreign-born player. It would end up being the fact that, 28th overall in 2001, Parker came from France that had a great Euro basketball thing and all that. And he was part of that French Olympic team in 2000. But Parker proved his worth. He won 4 NBA titles and Finals MVP, and did not play for any other team other than the Spurs, as far as I know. I think he did. No, I don't think he played for anyone else. But yeah, the Spurs picked him up, and he rocked everything with 4 NBA titles. Number 5 is Isaiah Thomas, picked 60th in 2011. No, it's not that Isaiah Thomas. The Isaiah Thomas you all know from the Bad Boy days spelled his name Isiah Thomas. This Isaiah Thomas from the University of Washington spelled his name Isaiah. Picked 60th, I believe he would be the last pick in the 2011 draft because, 2 rounds, 60 picks. But yeah, Boston found themselves with this guy from the University of Washington. He was a hero helping Washington hit a buzzer beater in the Pacific 10 tournament to get Washington automatically in the tournament. But yeah, cold-blooded. But yeah, he was huge. He was an all-NBA player. He helped Boston out. He was great and all that. He played a playoff game in honor of his sister China, who passed away in a car crash, and it was one of the most emotional moments in NBA history to see Isaiah Thomas do that. So yeah, it gets all the feels. But yeah, he fell off the map after leaving Boston for, I think, Denver. But yeah, he was good for a while in the 2010s. Number 4 is Marc Gasol, picked 48th in 2007. Remember when I was talking about one of the 2 people being Toronto Raptors? Well, Marc Gasol was one of them. He was picked from Los Angeles. Yeah, the Lakers had him 48th overall from Eastpan, the younger brother of Pau Gasol. But the Lakers traded Mark to Memphis for Pau. So it was like one Gasol for another. You just couldn't have both of them there. Yeah, Pau Gasol was great for the Lakers. He will always be a Memphis guy to me. But yeah, Marc Gasol actually worked out. He was an all-star and a defensive player of the year as a member of the Memphis Grizzlies. And let's face it, the Grizzlies franchise needed some help. But a trade deadline move from Memphis to Toronto for Jonas Valanciunas actually worked out in Toronto's favor. Valanciunas was a good player, but he just couldn't give us the title. So the Raptors had to do what they had to do, and they got Marc Gasol, number 33 in your programs. And yeah, he helped Toronto out with the defense, such as alongside Pascal Siakam and Serge Ibaka. So Marc Gasol will always be a Raptors icon. Speaking of Raptors, number 3 is Kawhi Leonard, 15th overall from San Diego State in 2011. Shout out to Nick Rice, one of the YouTubers, but from San Diego State. But the fact of the matter is that Kawhi was good. He was a significant impact player. He was a two-way player, and he helped San Antonio beat LeBron and co. for the 2014 title, ending the three-peat chance. Of course, I was pissed off, but yeah. Kawhi doing his job, just shooting and scoring and all that, chucking and driving. Unfortunately, though, San Antonio mismanaged his injuries and all that, and Kawhi was so pissed off he decided he won't play for San Antonio. So the Raptors picked him up for the want of DeMar DeRozan. Of course, it pissed off Raptor fans because DeMar DeRozan is probably much one of the best Raptors of all time. I disagree. It's Kyle Lowry. But anyway, Kawhi tried to make a difference as a Raptor in his Raptors press conference, but his laugh, ha ha. Well, he's trying to say he was a fun guy, but his laugh came off very terribly. Very terribly at all. But nevertheless, Kawhi, made an impact for the Raptors. He put Toronto on his back. And, his famous Game 7 shot against Philadelphia in the second round in 2019 that sent the Raptors to the Eastern Finals will always be big because, after all, it was 18 years prior that the Raptors missed a buzzer beater against Philly. But they got the revenge this time. And it was amazing. Kawhi was the hero. He helped carry the Raptors in the final, the conference final and the finals against Golden State, winning the finals MVP and all that. And, of course, every Raptor fan was pissed off when he chose the Clippers instead of staying in Toronto, or another team for that matter. But yeah, Kawhi leaving only after 1 year with the Raptors. He's not definitely top 10 in my book because he only played 1 year for the Raptors, and there were legendary players that played more years for the Raptors that were big, even Andre Bargnani, and that's saying a lot. Number 2 is Draymond Green, picked 35th in 2012 from Michigan State. I remember that because of the famous play in the 2012 NCAA tournament in which Draymond Green flipped a pass to Mr. Lucius, and he scored over Maryland in the buzzer beater. But yeah, Draymond Green was picked 35th in 2012, so he was not good enough to be in the first round. But yeah, Golden State picked him as a defensive anchor and good scorer and all that, and time came by, and he actually ended up being a pretty good player for Golden State, helping them win the 2015 NBA title. Unfortunately, he's kind of the reason why they didn't win in 2016. Warriors went up 3-1. Unfortunately, Draymond Green got himself a massive technical, and he occurred too many technicals, so he was suspended for Game 5. Golden State lost. No big deal. Go back to Cleveland, win Game 6 on their turf. Couldn't do it. Game 7, home turf, they could do it. Unfortunately, LeBron's block on Iguodala and Kyrie's three-pointer ruined the Warriors. I bet you Draymond got a lot of hate for that. But nevertheless, Green was there in 17 and 18 winning titles, and then in 2019 he was too injured to help Golden State out against the Raptors in the finals. So, yeah, he's still around. He is. And number 1, is Manu Ginobili from Argentina, drafted 57th in 1999. San Antonio must have had some very good foreign scouts because, they had Tony Parker in 2001. But in 1999, they outdid themselves, getting Manu Ginobili near the end of the 1999 draft. That was the draft that was known as the Michael Olowokandi draft because the Clippers had a hard-on for the University of Pacific. That's not a real school. It actually is. But anyway, yeah, Ginobili was big. Part of the Spurs dynasty, 4-time NBA champion, helping Argentina beat the U.S. in the Olympics in 2004 was big enough. Argentina was known for their basketball prowess, but yet Manu Ginobili was just this one guy who really could play basketball quite well. And, it helped them. He even swatted a bat, but didn't get rabies. Thank goodness for that. But yeah, Manu Ginobili is the epitome of San Antonio basketball. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond to do.